Hi guys, and welcome to my DIY channel. My name is Annalie if you are new here, and if you're not, welcome back! I'm so excited to be back! Also, we're doing some Farmhouse Valentines, so let's get right into it. For my very first DIY of this video, you guys are already looking at the completed project. So if you guys follow me over on my Instagram, you have seen that I have been in the process of getting a new craft area. Along with that new craft area has been this fun DIY project. So I actually mimicked a spot in my home that has a shiplap wall. Whenever I film intros inside my house, just because it is so small, my poor family has to be very quiet. I ask each one of them to be very quiet or go into their bedrooms. I ask them to pause the TV. I can't have like the dishwasher running. I can't have anything going on where we live. Basically no living where we live. We are very fortunate to have an extra room out in our garage that is a smaller area. It's just like a workroom, and it has a heater in there. And so we decided to build me a craft space out in the garage, where I also don't have all my craft supplies taking over in the inside. But I have a workspace and I wanted a display space. So basically a spot to stand in front of or sit in front of to do any of my intros, my outros, my unboxings, my end segments. You guys all know that I love to do a little bit of talking in my videos, and I always try to be somewhere that's like a cute background. So we went ahead and on the wall, we built another shiplap wall. So this is just some shiplap from Home Depot. It's actually like a textured whitewash. And I kind of wanted it to resemble my inside one just because I love the way that I have my inside one. So the first thing that we did was my husband went ahead and he put up so much of the shiplap, and he actually surprised me with that while I was at work. So that's why I have no footage of that. So then after that, we went to Home Depot and we picked out this shelf right here. This is just a white MDF board, and it's only about 5 or 6 inches wide. I didn't need a lot, but I wanted a shelf to put my DIYs up onto so that I could film them to show you guys when I'm done with the completed project. So that's what this shelf is for. I love the hooks, and so because I do make a lot of hanging DIYs and some wreaths, so now I can hang stuff from these hooks, and you can see that I only did 3 of these hooks, and then this just kind of completes the look. So these core bells right here, we got these from Home Depot as well, and they fit perfectly. You can see that they just fit perfectly. And I like that they're pushed in just a little bit. So literally all we did was shiplap on this wall. I took the corbels, and they did come in a raw wood color. So I did end up painting them white with some white chalk paint. And then after that, my husband just used a nail gun and he put the shelf up and nailed the shelf to the wall, and then put up the rest of the shiplap. And then we went ahead and we just nailed the corbels into the wall. And when I say nail, I mean like a brad nail. He just punched them into the wall really, really quickly. And then there is a tiny little piece, if you can see right here, I will do a close-up of this wall. There's a tiny little piece of crown molding that I used. I actually ripped it down to a really small size. It's actually one of the pieces you guys have seen me use if you see my other videos where I do those home signs. That's what I use for the roofing. That's exactly what this is, and it just gives this shelf right here a more complete finish. And then this is it, you guys. Seriously, like I can use this like I'm doing right now to stand in front of. So all my end segments are gonna be right here, my unboxings. And can you guys hear that? It's like really quiet. I hope you guys like my first DIY. I will be showing you guys what I'm putting up here. Let's do a quick zoom in on this project right here. The wall, not this project. This is definitely a project. Let's do a complete on this wall right here, right now. For this next project, I wanted to make a kind of an oversized sign, and so I'm using these paint sticks
that you can get from Home Depot. They're just like paint stick size. And I went ahead and I used my chop saw to get these cut down. I didn't show it because it's freezing and it was just much easier to run out and get it chopped real quick. But I went ahead and I made some 90 degrees. My husband got a brad nail gun and it looks exactly like my staple gun, and I didn't realize the difference, or I didn't pay attention to the difference. So when I went to use this, I thought it was my staple gun and I nailed it to the floor. But thankfully, my husband came and rescued me once again, and he was able to pry this off the floor, and then we were able to switch it out so that I could use my staple gun instead. But what I'm doing right here is I'm making kind of a, I don't even know what to call it, like a shadow box frame. So you can see that top piece of wood right there that's got the 45-degree angles, the 45-degree angles cut on top and bottom, and then I'm stapling it to a piece of wood on the side so that when I put them together, there's your flat frame on the front and then like the box frame on the sides that will go against the wall. I hope that makes sense. You guys will see what I'm talking about. So I went ahead and I stapled each piece individually before stapling them all together. So right here you can see there's that little ledge right there, that like little lip that's sticking out. I actually had to have that gone because that did not make it flush to go with the rest of my frame. So I went out and I used my chop saw and I just lined it up with the angle cut already, and then I just pushed the saw down and cut that off, and you can see that it gave me a perfect angle cut so that it will now fit together with the rest of the frame. So now I go ahead and I get this assembled. This was a little bit tricky just because I had to kind of hold it together with one hand and then staple it with the other hand. I really technically needed like maybe 4 hands, but we got it done. I did use a little bit of, I used that sanding block to just kind of smooth the edges a little bit from using the chop saw. But then I was able to go ahead and I got it all stapled together, and it actually is very sturdy. Okay, once I was done, I went ahead and I used the color Jacobian to get this all stained. And then using a foam core board from the Dollar Tree, I actually cut this down just a little bit. I cut about 4 inches off of the length, but I left it the same width. And so it was pretty much perfect and ready to go. I just kind of scored it and then used my pencil to cut the rest of this off. And this came off very good. And I'm not really worried about jagged edges because they are going to be hidden by the frame. So any parts that were just a little bit too big, I just used some scissors to go ahead and get that cut so that it would fit perfectly right into my frame. So then I went ahead and I used my printer and I printed off a quote that I love from the movie The Greatest Showman. You guys know that I love that movie. But I love the part where she sings the song Walking a Tightrope, and there's a line in there that says, "It's all an adventure that comes with a breathtaking view." And I love that because I feel like that can apply to just living life and watching my kids grow up, and it's just, life's an adventure. And I feel like my children, my family, my husband, they are all my breathtaking view. So I went ahead and I used some of this graphite paper. I just picked this up from Hobby Lobby, and I used some painter's tape because I felt like that didn't stick to the foam core board as much, because the foam core board, I didn't want the tape to tear off any of the front of the foam core board. So I just went ahead and I used a pencil and I just pressed lightly enough. I didn't want it to kind of leave an indentation in the foam core, but I just wanted it to push the graphite onto the board, and it worked so good. So I just spaced it out. It was like a fun little puzzle, and by fun I mean like it was really tricky. So then using this paint marker right here, I actually prefer to use the Arteza paint markers, but I've used my black Arteza paint marker so much that I don't even have it anymore. So this is just a paint marker that you can pick up from Walmart. It's like $2, and I went ahead and I filled in all of the areas that I had put on with the graphite paper. So this was a very long process, but if you like coloring, some people feel like coloring is actually very soothing and calming, and I actually really don't mind coloring or painting. It's just the creative side of me. I feel like it's very relaxing, and so I really enjoyed this part. And so it took forever, but I enjoyed it. And then because I'm working with graphite paper, it does get a little bit all over your board, like it smudges a little bit, but if you just use a pencil eraser, that comes right off. So once that was all painted and ready to go, I used a staple gun, a different type of staple gun, like the air pneumatic staple gun, and just stapled that right into the frame. And here it is. This is how it turned out. I actually didn't have enough room to put it up on top, but it's not going to be going out in my garage. It's going to be going up in my home, and there's enough room up on top of my shelf. But this is what it looks like.
I'm so excited to tell you guys that today's video is a collaboration with the Crafting Cousins here on YouTube. Kay and Trish are absolutely amazing. I have followed them for probably almost a year now, and you guys, they are so amazing. They are so inspiring. They've done so many craft shows. They are so talented. So I'm actually gonna leave their video and their channel down below for you guys to watch, because you do not wanna miss them. If I only had one word to define these beautiful women, it would be genuine. They are the most genuine and kind people I have ever met. They're very talented, they make amazing crafts, and they give excellent tutorials. I've learned so much from them, and they've done crafting for a long time, and they used to do craft shows. So they have tons of tips and tricks and chats and everything, you guys. I can't talk them up enough. So if you get a chance, please go check them out. Leave them a comment down below and tell them that I sent you over. And if you guys are coming over from Crafting Cousins, welcome to my channel, and I'm so glad that you guys are here. My name is Annalie. This is my channel where I primarily do DIYs with a little bit of home decor here and there, but just primarily DIYs. And then one of the things that I absolutely love to know on my channel is at the end of each of my DIY videos, I love to do a little inspirational quote or message, or share like a YouTube video. I just call it like my little end segment. I actually watch the Clutterbug. I follow her, and she does really fun end segments that I've always enjoyed. So she inspired me to try and do something at the end to give you guys just a little bit more and add just a little bit more value to your lives. This year is going to be amazing for my channel. I'm so excited for all the growth that I have. I have a whole bunch of plans in the works that I'm working on. I won't make any announcements yet just because I don't really know the time frames, but I'm hoping that you guys are going to see maybe some challenges. I might try to start a monthly challenge. I'm not really sure. And I'm going to be participating in a lot of collaborations and just doing a lot of fun stuff. So I'm really excited for what this year has in store. If you guys are interested, please stick around, and I would love for you to be here and come along with our journey. Click the subscribe button down below, give the video a thumbs up, and we'll just get back into the video. All right, guys, let's get back into the video.
So this next project was so fun, you guys. I ended up getting a new tool for Christmas. My husband got me a Dremel, and it's got this fun little carving tool. So this is just a scrap piece of wood that I found, and I traced out these words literally onto like some lined paper that said hello love, and then I used my Dremel carving tool and I just filled in what I traced and carved it out. So as you can see that I'm doing right here, I'm carving out the words hello love, and then I just used some Waverly white chalk paint to paint over it, including in the grooves. Distressed it a little bit, sanded it, and then I used a paint marker from Arteza. This is in the color called Rose Pink, and then I just used that to color in the carved out part of the wood. This paint marker worked so good for this. It was like, I didn't even really have to pay attention. It just like followed the groove, and it worked out so good. And then it gave me, it's a different type of sign, and so instead of having to use vinyl or just painting onto it, it gave it a little bit of texture and some depth. And you guys, I love it. I absolutely love this technique, and I'm so excited to work with my Dremel tool so much more. Like, just get excited for all of the things that are going to be made with my Dremel tool, because I'm really excited. And then using some baker's twine that I got from Hobby Lobby, I went ahead and I wanted to embellish it a little bit. So I began to tie this at the top, and then after a while I decided that I didn't even like it on the top. So you guys can see that I measure it out right here, wrap it around the top, but once I actually tie it off and cut it and really looked at it, I was like, I don't really like it on the top. So you don't see me do this, but I do move it down to the bottom of the sign, which I think looks a lot better. And then I just tied a little bow with the baker's twine and I glued that on with some hot glue. So there you can see that it's on the bottom, and I think that just looks so much better. But that was it. That was it for this little sign, and this basically didn't really cost me anything with the exception of getting the Dremel tool, but this was just some scrap wood and some baker's twine that I already had on hand, and the paint, I already had everything. So this was so cheap, and I love this sign. And for this last DIY, I'm going to be using one of these wreath forms that you can just pick up from the Dollar Tree. I, of course, love that it was shaped like a heart. I felt like it was perfect to use for Valentine's Day. Using some of this white rope that you can get from the Dollar Tree. At first, you can see here that I decided to wrap it all with the rope, and I really love how this looks on the side. But when I got to the curves and the different angles, it really tried to bunch like in the corners, and I didn't like how it looked. So then I ended up separating out the rope, and I don't know what happened to that footage, but I pulled apart the 3 different strands, and I used the strands to wrap the rope. And with having the strands be a little bit skinnier, they were a lot easier to work with around those bends. So I went ahead and I just wrapped this entire wreath form and used some hot glue to hold it in place. And then these are some foam roses that I got from the Dollar Tree. I was super lucky to find these because these were gone very quickly. I got 2 packages of 4 different colors. So red, pink, purple, and white, and I did grab 2 of each. But I still didn't get enough to do the whole wreath, so that's why I wrapped it, and then we're just gonna be doing some of these roses up the one side of the wreath, just kind of like an accent. Card at the Dollar Tree. When I saw the front of that, I instantly knew that that would look so cute hanging in the middle of a wreath. So I went ahead and I took this apart and used this as a banner to hang in the middle. And here in a minute, you're going to see that I wanted to embellish it a little bit. At first, I took this rope and cut it up and made a tassel out of this rope. But when I added it next to the sign, I just felt like it was too much of the same color. So I actually had some leftover yarn tassels that I had used from some red yarn from Christmas that were already tied and just sitting in my stash. So you don't see me tie those because they were already tied, but I went ahead and I used some neutral beads that I got from Amazon, and then some of the pink beads that you can get from the multicolored pack from the Dollar Tree, and I added those on the sides with the red tassel just to give it a little bit of this embellishment, and tied this onto the wreath and glued it on and hung it up, and I absolutely love how this turned out.
Guys, thank you so much for watching. So my end segment for today is a video that is based off of a TED Talk. This TED Talk talks about the famous saying, doing the right thing is not always the easy thing, and so this video is about having the courage to do the right thing. He starts off with a story that's just an incredible inspirational story and immediately just inspires you to try and be a better person. He talks about a young athlete, a girl that's in high school, and she's part of the track team. She's either at state or at nationals. I think it's nationals, you guys. It was a big deal. A very, very huge race. She runs a race. I want to say the 1600 meter race, and she just takes first place. She just does so good. She's feeling great. Everybody's complimenting her. She's just this pro athlete. She's doing amazing. She's probably just going to go so far, and everybody is so excited for her potential and her future. She has another race that she has to do about an hour and a half later, and as she starts running this race, she can just tell that she doesn't have it in her. She's exhausted, she's worn out, and she doesn't think she's gonna make it. So she decides, and she makes a decision right there in her head, that she's just gonna have fun and enjoy this race. So she's finishing the race, and as she turns the corner, she looks up ahead, and there's a girl, an up in front of her, and that's the only one that's up in front of her, but there's a girl up in front of her, and it's very obvious that she's not doing well. She's staggering, and all of a sudden she ends up going to the ground. Megan, the famous runner, Megan is the girl who is behind her, who decided to just kind of run the race for fun, decides to run straight to her. She doesn't run around her, she runs straight to her, and she picks up the girl off the ground. Now immediately, this disqualifies both of the runners per the rules of the race. And both girls knew that, but it was still more important to Megan to help this girl than to run past her. She picked her up, put her arm over her shoulder, and they hobbled to the finish line together. Right when they were about to cross the finish line, Megan positioned this girl who had fallen in front of her so that when they cross the finish line, this girl crosses before her, making Megan dead last in the very race, because they've both been disqualified, but she still put the girl in front of her. What inspiration, right? Like, what an amazing story. I was hooked immediately, and I listened to the rest of his talk, and he talks about how doing what's right is not always what's easy. Most people know that, but what's awesome about striving to always do what is right? Right kind of like gets on you. It just kind of gets on you a little bit. You do something right, you make a good choice, you make a right decision, and right gets on you. So maybe you're the person that decides to slow down a little bit and let somebody in a traffic jam, stuff like that. Once right is on you and you keep working on doing the right things, then right gets in you. It gets in you and it becomes natural. You naturally do the right thing. It feels good to you. You feel like you should do the right thing, and it's contagious, you guys. It makes you feel good. It makes others feel good. It is amazing. But doing the right thing is not always what's easy. So if you can, get a chance. If you guys get a chance, check out that video down below, because I promise it is so inspirational. My challenge to you guys this week, always try to do the right thing, even if it's hard. And whenever you do something that's right and it's hard, seriously, like, I commend you, because that is pure bravery. It takes a lot of courage to do what's right. Make sure you watch that video down below. Make sure you check out the Crafting Cousins. If you guys would like to, please give this video a thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for watching and for being here. And as always, I will see you guys next time. Bye guys.